When people talk about the genius of the Beatles, almost every conversation eventually circles back to one legendary partnership, Lennon-McCartney. The songwriting duo of John Lennon and Paul McCartney is often regarded as the gold standard in the history of popular music. Yet what many people forget is that these two icons did not emerge as fully formed musical masterminds overnight. They began as two teenagers from Liverpool still figuring out how to write melodies, polish lyrics, and turn raw ideas into unforgettable songs. Long before landmark albums like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band or Abbey Road reshaped modern music forever, Lennon and McCartney were experimenting with simple love songs, borrowed rock and roll influences, and the kind of youthful energy that could only come from hungry young musicians trying to prove themselves. They wrote songs in classrooms, at family homes, backstage for tiny gigs, and during chaotic nights in Hamburg clubs. Many of their earliest compositions sounded innocent, romantic, and occasionally naive. But within those songs were the first signs of the revolutionary songwriting chemistry that would later change pop culture forever. Remarkably, some of the tracks they created while still learning their craft would go on to become defining moments in the Beatles' early catalog. These songs captured the birth of a partnership built on melody, instinct, experimentation, and a relentless desire to improve. Here are three Beatles songs Lennon and McCartney wrote while they were still beginner songwriters, and how those early tracks laid the foundation for the greatest songwriting partnership in pop history. Number 1. I Saw Her Standing There. When Please Please Me opens with the immortal count-in 1, 2, 3, 4, it feels like the sound of a musical revolution beginning in real time. The opening track, I Saw Her Standing There, remains one of the most electrifying rock and roll songs from the band's early years. And astonishingly, it was written when Lennon and McCartney were still teenagers. At the time, the two future legends were still in school, more interested in guitars and songwriting than classroom lessons. Paul McCartney later recalled how the song was written while the pair skipped school to spend the day composing music together. They sat with acoustic guitars and a small piano, piecing together ideas line by line. Even then, their creative chemistry was already becoming obvious. One of the defining features of the Lennon-McCartney partnership was their ability to challenge each other's ideas without destroying the song itself. McCartney originally wrote the lyric, "She was just 17, she'd never been a beauty queen." But Lennon immediately disliked the phrase beauty queen, feeling it sounded awkward and overly sentimental. Together, they replaced it with the now iconic line, "You know what I mean." That small change transformed the lyric completely. Suddenly, the song felt sharper, cooler, and more natural. It also highlighted an important truth about Lennon and McCartney's early writing process. Even as beginners, they understood the importance of simplicity. Musically, I Saw Her Standing There was heavily influenced by American rock and roll artists such as Little Richard and Chuck Berry. McCartney's driving bass line, the aggressive rhythm guitar, and the explosive vocal energy gave the song a raw excitement that separated the Beatles from most British pop acts of the early 1960s. Many music historians now view the track as the first true glimpse of the classic Beatles formula, catchy pop songwriting fused with rebellious rock and roll energy. More than 60 years later, I Saw Her Standing There is still widely regarded as one of the greatest opening tracks in rock history. Number 2. And I Love Her. If I Saw Her Standing There revealed the wild, youthful energy of early Beatles music, then And I Love Her showcased something completely different, emotional sophistication. Featured on A Hard Day's Night, it's often considered one of the first truly mature ballads Paul McCartney ever wrote. By this stage, the Beatles were evolving rapidly. They were no longer simply a high-energy rock and roll group, they were becoming serious songwriters. McCartney later admitted that And I Love Her was one of the first songs he genuinely impressed as a composer. He particularly admired the chord structure and the poetic imagery in lines like, "Bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky." Compared to many early Beatles love songs, the lyrics felt more cinematic and emotionally detailed. McCartney was beginning to move beyond straightforward teenage romance and into something more timeless and elegant. The song's structure was also unusual for its era. There's no massive chorus or dramatic climax. Instead, the song flows gently and intimately, driven by acoustic guitar and subtle rhythm changes. George Harrison added a distinctive Latin-inspired acoustic guitar part that became one of the defining elements of the song. For many critics, And I Love Her marked the beginning of McCartney's transformation into one of pop music's greatest ballad writers. Without this song, it is difficult to imagine later masterpieces like Yesterday, Hey Jude, or Let It Be. McCartney also believed the word "and" in the title was crucial. To him, beginning with "and" made the listener feel as though the story had already started before the song even began. It was a subtle songwriting trick, but one that showed how quickly his instincts as a composer were developing. Today, And I Love Her remains one of the most beloved love songs in the Beatles' catalog, covered by jazz musicians, classical guitarists, and singers across generations. Number 3. Hello, Little Girl. Before the Beatles conquered the world, they were simply a young Liverpool band desperately trying to secure a recording contract. One of the most important moments of their early career came in January 1962, when they auditioned for Decca Records. At the time, the group still featured Lennon, McCartney, Harrison, and original drummer Pete Best. During the audition, they performed several original Lennon-McCartney compositions, including Hello, Little Girl. Historically, the song carries enormous significance because Lennon himself described it as the first real song he ever wrote. Unlike the harder-edged rock influences of later Beatles material, Hello, Little Girl was deeply inspired by older pop standards from the 1930s and 1940s. Lennon later admitted that the melody and style were influenced by songs his mother, Julia Lennon, used to sing to him when he was young. That emotional connection gives the song a fascinating layer of meaning. Many Beatles historians believe Julia played a crucial role in shaping Lennon's imagination long before fame arrived. Although Hello, Little Girl never became a major Beatles hit, it was later recorded by The Foremost, another group managed by Brian Epstein, and became a UK chart success in 1963. What makes the song especially compelling today is not simply its melody, but the fact that it represents the very beginning of Lennon's journey as a songwriter. From this modest early composition would eventually emerge groundbreaking works like Strawberry Fields Forever, A Day in the Life, and later, Imagine. It is remarkable to think that one of the most influential songwriters of the 20th century began with a simple pop tune inspired by childhood memories. Looking back at these early Lennon-McCartney songs today feels like reading the opening chapter of a legendary story. The songs were not perfect. The lyrics could be simplistic, the themes repetitive, and the structures heavily influenced by American rock and roll traditions. But that is exactly what makes them fascinating. In songs like I Saw Her Standing There, And I Love Her, and Hello, Little Girl, we can hear two young musicians discovering how songwriting actually worked, learning through experimentation, criticism, instinct, and ambition. Very few songwriting duos in history evolved as quickly as Lennon and McCartney. In less than a decade, they transformed from schoolboys skipping class to write songs into the architects of a global cultural revolution. And perhaps that is why their music feels alive today. Even in their earliest recordings, Lennon and McCartney already possessed the one quality that cannot truly be taught: the ability to create songs that feel human, emotional, and unforgettable.